All right, everyone. Do we have everyone? I think we do. Ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a round of applause and welcome to our Conscious Leadership Social for January. I had to think for a minute. I was like, I thought we're in February, but we're not, are we? We're nearly in February. How has your January gone? 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Give me a woo if it's gone good. And give me a if it's not. Oh, good. Fantastic. That's what I like to see. So I always start in the same way. I'm always interested. There's a lot of new faces and some familiar faces. So if you have been to one of our events before, please raise your hand. Okay. And if you've never, ever been, raise your other hand. Okay. That's about 70-30. Brilliant. Well, to everyone that has never been before, welcome. Welcome from myself. Welcome from the beautiful and lovely Christina, who's the back supporting, and welcome from our crew. Today we have Madiha helping out. Thank you very much. And my name is Daniel Helenko. Along with Christina, we run a company called Katori, and this is almost as we enter 2020. As we enter 2020, this will nearly be our third year of running these events. They are global events. They're run at the minute. They're running 6 continents. I think we're running at about 60 different cities. Manchester was one of the first cities to start 3 years ago. And today, roughly speaking, every single month, you're having anywhere between 20 and 30 of these events every single month running. And there's one theme that runs through them all, whether people are attracted from a business perspective, whether people are attracted from a leadership perspective or a conscious perspective. The thing that runs through them all is purpose. Why are we doing it? And it's the one thing that separates us maybe from other networking events. Why are we doing what we're doing? Because let's be honest, you could do whatever you want. You could do anything you wish. But you chose today to be here, which I'm really grateful for myself, from everyone. You chose to be in whatever business capacity you're in. You chose to serve whatever customers you chose to serve. And you choose to show up for whatever community it is that you look after. And these are really big things when you think about it, because if you didn't choose, then someone chose for you. Or maybe you unconsciously fell into something. I'm interested, raise your hand if you have ever suddenly realized you didn't choose what you did, but you just woke up one day and realized, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I in this job? Why am I having this customer? And then you're like, I didn't even want this. And it's at that point then when you bring that awareness to it, and everything changes. Sometimes a bit bumpier than we would like, but when we get to the other side, we love it. And then we do it again and again and again and again and again. So, as I said, this is a global network of socials set up by a gentleman called Roger Hamilton. Raise your hand if you've heard of Roger Hamilton and Wealth Dynamics. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. When did we begin our journey? 3.5 years ago. So about 6 years ago, I first found out about Wealth Dynamics, which is a profiling tool. If you haven't done a profile test, I really recommend it. It helps you to see how you see the world. And then about 3.5 years ago, me and Christina started our journey with Roger and Entrepreneurs Institute, which is the company you see on the branding here at the top, Wealth Dynamics. And I'm forever grateful for that, because that journey really woke me up. And 3 years ago, my why is very different to what it is today. Still had a lot of purpose behind it, but it had a lot of baggage, let's say. And over those 3 years and through doing these socials, I've really got cleaner and cleaner and clearer on why we're doing what we're doing. And that's ultimately the question that we're here today to be discussing. And it's ultimately the thing that I'm forever grateful for Roger, for EI, for helping me see that and go on that journey. Throughout 3 years ago, I was running a successful security business, CCTV, fire alarms. And at some point, a year and a half ago, I sold everything, got rid of the lot, to follow my passion and my purpose. And it is scary, but it is by far the best decision I ever made. Hands down, I'd do it 10 times over. It was that impactful for my life, because we're asking the right questions. Because we're looking at the world and realizing the world is changing fast. You think it changed fast over the last 10 years? Wait till you see what's coming. Because we're in the second half of the chessboard. And if you ever look up the story of where chess came from, you'll understand what that means. But this compound of change we're seeing right now is astronomical. You couldn't have imagined where you were 10 years ago. The iPhone was 3 years old. Facebook was barely here. Google was only 10. Like, we're in for huge change and huge shift. Society's showing it. Businesses are showing it. Employees are showing it. Employers are showing it. Consumers are showing it. It's everywhere. So if you're sat here today and you think you know where you're going to be in 10 years, I'd just question that, because as soon as you know, you don't know. You have an idea and a direction. So we'll unpack that more. And it's through our company, Katori, which is awakening the spirit in leadership, the renaissance of yourself. We're going through a huge second renaissance right now. That's what myself and Christina fully focus on. It's what our whole life is about. How do we build leaders that are aware of themselves, becoming aware of themselves in their own journey? You are Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. We just forget. We get kind of caught in these loops. But as soon as you remember that you are the character, you are the narrator of your own story, well, then everything can start to change again. So that's okay. Loops are okay. They're part and parcel of nature. And tonight we're going to uncover a bit more of that, because although we have done this now for 3 years nearly, today is our last one. I'm looking at the lady there. Oh, because I know you're looking forward to this year. But don't worry. It's the last one we're running. Because today we're handing over to two new people who gives me really good pleasure to hand over, because they're carrying that baton with as much love and passion and awareness and vision that myself and Christina had. And we need more of that in the world. That's why I've loved this community that we've built. Some people that I've met over these last few years who have just completely warmed my heart. And anytime I think things are a bit shitty, I look to those people and I realize that they hold the most beautiful torches inside their heart. And that keeps me going, because I need it sometimes as well. I forgot to mention that we are live streaming. So the people that are out there, hello. And to everyone here, I assume your seated position gives me full authority and GDPR purposes to share everything that we're sharing online. And if you don't like it, you're welcome to leave, and I love you all. So I'm not going to spend much more time talking. We've got a lot to cover today. We're going to try and leave on time. We're about 12 minutes in, so that you can know now and start thinking, because I'm really interested. Who's hungry already? Be honest. 4 hands. Oh, all women, 4 hands. I love it. We will be, afterwards, we're going to go to Pizza Express. So if you want it, we'll be out of here fairly quickly. So I'm telling you that now, because moving people out of this room sometimes is really difficult. So I'm going to start the thinking process of that now. We can go to Pizza Express and you can drink, you can eat, you can do whatever you want. We can dance. You might not like it, but we can dance. So that's what we're going to do at the end. We've got a bit of a surprise in the middle as well. And I'm sure throughout it, golden nuggets. So if you like golden nuggets, if you like surprises, you like food and you like drink, you're in the right place. So give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, so today's about, who could tell me in one word what you think today's event was about? Don't be shy. I'm going to stay silent now until someone says a word. Why? Where did that come from? Well, thank you, Alexander. Why? And we use elements all of this year, which I know there's one person in particular who chose to come down for that reason. Thank you very much. And we're looking this year at how do the elements show up in life, show up in business. So today is water, spirit element. Why? Why are you doing what you're doing? If you've never heard of elements before and how that's even linked, wood is about beginnings, new beginnings. Think about seeds coming through. Wood feeds fire. Fire is about being out there and alive. It's about networking. It's about growth. It's about, think of it from a forest perspective. Fire is also summer. It's abundance. Fire burns down into earth, forms the ground. Earth is a grounding element. If you think of it from a business perspective, it's when you start to reduce the amount of things you might have. You might reduce the amount of products that you've got. It's about consolidation, but not too much. You've got 20 branches. which branches are we going to get rid of so we're more efficient? And then from the earth condenses inside and forms metal. Metal's a lot colder. If you think of it from a seasonal perspective, it's winter. It's not death. It's where a tree completely retracts. It's the most efficient it can be. Winter is, how do I expel the least amount of energy and still survive? It's efficiency. We have that in our life. Our life goes through this cycle, and then we pop back at the top. Because metal condenses, and what drips off a condensed piece of metal? Water. And so the cycle is complete. Back to why are we doing what we're doing? Water feeds wood. Wood feeds fire. Fire feeds earth. Earth condenses to metal. Metal creates water. And this cycle is what this year is all about. And today, we are at water. Why? So it is perfectly timed, as everything ever is, that the people who are taking over and running these socials moving forward have a beautiful why. Of course, it would work that way. And so rather than me explain to you why we do what we do, or even talk more about why, well, then we can use live examples to do that. And that is why I'm not going to share any more about where these guys come from, because I'm going to let them share it for you. But please, from a Manchester conscious leadership perspective, from a purposeful entrepreneurship perspective, with your hearts inside your hands, give a round of applause for Kathy and Howard. Just check we're on. Are we unmuted?
Hello. Yes.
Toast, toast, toast. 1, 2.
2 pieces of toast.
Toast. 2 pieces of toast. Everybody meet Kathy and Howard. Kathy and Howard meet everybody.
Hello, everybody.
And
Hiya.
everyone who is online, which is over there. Meet
Hello,
Kathy and Howard.
everyone.
Kathy and Howard meet
Hi.
everyone online. So today, really, like everything is about water and wine. I really want to stick on that. So if I find we're moving off it, I'm going to pull us right back to it, because that's why people are here. And I really want to make sure that people can go away really feeling how why changes what you do. One of the easiest things for me and Christina that changed our decision process fully was values. Values, 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 values. And we spoke briefly the last time that we met, and I really started to see how much values have shaped your lives. So it took me a while to understand values myself. I'd love to know, like, when was the moment you even started becoming actually aware of values, what they mean, where they come from, and then we'll kind of move on to how that shaped things.
Do you want to go first?
Okay. Don't usually.
I love interviewing couples.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
right. Okay. So the first inkling, I think, conscious inkling about values was maybe 15 or so years ago, when Kath and I attended an event run by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development. And it was based around a book by Andy Gilbert called Go Mad, Go Make a Difference. And at the heart of Andy's model was this concept of personal responsibility, that it is down to you to act. It's down to you to choose. And it really struck a chord with us, I think, that evening, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. She's never been a woman of this few words.
Why don't you tell us a bit more?
So then wind the clock on. There's a lot of things happen in life and in your lives, and many changes will have happened in your lives, and subtly they'll be changing you inside, won't they? And so, cut a long story short, 15 years in, I think on the 15th anniversary of us kind of getting together, I asked Kathy to marry me.
Oh,
thank you. Yeah,
Caught me at a weak moment, and I said, yeah.
it's true. I'd worn her down, quite frankly, over 15 years, and she was backed into a corner and felt she couldn't go anywhere except yes. But there were a couple of stipulations around the yes. One of them was that we would do it secretly, privately.
Hang on. Who made the stipulations?
Me.
Okay, right.
Me.
Fair enough. Okay.
The other was that we would check in spiritually with Kathy's late ex-husband. So on a very snowy February the 13th, on the anniversary of James's death, we went up to Stickletarn up in the lakes. And I don't know if any of you know Stickletarn in Langdale. It's a beautiful,
Very
beautiful
well.
place, and a very scary place when it's snowing like that. And it's a bit of snow, and you can't see the path. And we kind of spoke to the elements of, I think, kind of air and spirit and water and earth. And I asked Kathy again then, 1,200 feet up in the snow, whether she would still marry me, and she said yes. And then we had arranged to get married in Gretna Green. We kind of kidnapped my kids on the day. They only found out an hour before when we stopped at Shap Services, and the look on their faces was priceless. It's a thrill. It's seriously a thrill to surprise kids in their mid-20s. Yeah. Really, they think they know everything. They've heard and seen everything. But the faces as we sat over a cup of coffee and went, actually,
so
it's not
registering the dawning where they're actually going to. We told them something else.
Yeah, it's not a special day out for your dad. We're getting married. Well, it's just a special
That's
day
still a
out.
special day.
Yeah, I realised that didn't come over well, did we? Can we edit that live? Yeah.
It's done. Yeah, I've just edited it.
But if you wind back a couple of months, we had decided, because we have different views on spirituality, that we would have a Unitarian minister marry us. And finding a Unitarian minister in a Presbyterian country like Scotland is not the easiest thing in the world.
Is that like a humanist?
No, it's it kind of is, but it encompasses that spiritual element.
Okay.
And
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So the minister who married us described himself
he was an American.
80%, was it 90% Christian and
just to give
Buddhist.
You a picture.
Yeah.
He's Scottish, he was American, but he lived in Scotland for 40 years. And when we met him at Gretna Green in January, he was fully kilted. I mean, it was freezing. He was fully kilted in the whole bit, and described himself as 70% Christian, 30% Buddhist. So Unitarian is inclusive.
Yeah.
And
I'd actually, not to divert too much, but I've been part of a meditation group for quite some time, and it was a Unitarian chapel, and the minister who led that was Unitarian, and I learned so much from him over the years. And that's where the Unitarian bit, I learned a lot from him, and I'd look at him and think, how can you be so easily share with people, from the heart, and it was, it was kind of.
So how does I was going to say utilitarian. It's not
Unitarian.
Unitarian, thank you. Priest, minister, thank you. Help you with values.
Well, so the first question that John asked us was, why you getting married?
Good question.
It is a good question, and not such an easy one to answer sometimes. The second question was, why now? After 15 years, why now? An even tougher question to answer. And I think he needed to be sure that we weren't rushing into things
after 15 years.
One of you needed a green card visa. But he set us homework, and each week we would Skype with John, and he would so the first bit of homework he set us was to go and write our personal values individually, then kind of feed them back, and the second bit was to combine them to create a set of shared values. And we did, and there's a lot of familiar faces in the room today. And a lot of them will know probably off by heart what our shared values are, because they underpin our marriage, our vows, our business. They underpin everything.
And you're not going to leave the other half of the room hanging there.
I'm not, but I thought Kath might want to step in and share them.
Personal responsibility, inspired by the Go Mad, and mindfulness and support. Those are the three values. And underpin everything we do, and we check in with those values all the time. So whatever we're doing in our lives and in our business, we're checking in with that all the time. So what's right for somebody else isn't necessarily right for you, and that's what we found for us, and we know it's true for everybody else, that it's your journey. It's not, your journey is your own journey, and checking in with that is important. And it's so easy to be swayed off by everything that's happening outside there. Well, they're doing that and they're doing that. Yeah, but that's not you.
Just give me those ones again. Personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility,
yep.
Mindfulness and support.
Thank you. I'm just going to put that online. Thank you.
And the reason is personal responsibility is where it starts. You are the the owner of your actions. You have two choices: how you react or how you act, and those are about the only things you are ever going to own. But when you own them, when you own those actions, then one ought to take some care about the impact they'll have on others around you, the world around you, the environment. I mean, so be mindful. Don't be frightened, but be mindful of your actions. And then whenever you can, reach out and support those around you or those who need help. Those values can get you into trouble, though. And I would just sort of say we occasionally, you can reach out too soon when you're not stood on solid ground yourself. You haven't quite got yourself sorted and you're trying to help someone else. And it's like, the blind leading the myopic, or the drowning man trying to save another drowning man. Sometimes you've got to be sure about the ground you stand on before you reach out to help and support other people.
Yeah, and this is something that we say with some of our clients, like, and whether you're religious or not is irrelevant, but something that Jesus said in the Bible, which was, it's like, love yourself, then love thy neighbor.
So important.
We exude and give and support so much without realizing that it can really hurt physically, emotionally, spiritually, however that is. And it's so important to just make sure you're on that solid foundation.
Definitely.
Whatever it is you're doing.
Most definitely. And that's a tricky one to follow.
I can see in your face,
yes.
you've not done that enough times.
Oh, gosh, I'm always doing it like this, always going on. That's the truth. We're all human and we all have, we're all fallible. And
are you happy then to share because it's kind of like values is good and they help us make decisions. But the opposite of that is where you have lack of value or wrong value or don't listen to your value and you do the opposite. Are you happy to share where you learned the importance of living one or all of those values? And if it's not the right space, that's cool.
I'm just trying to think of just isolating it to one instance.
Maybe if I kind of wind it back a little bit again. So about 4.5 years ago, we came across Wealth Dynamics. We were introduced to the idea by one of our mentors at the time. And as a result of a whole day spent with him, a number of conversations were had, one of which was, why don't you set up a network meeting, a property network meeting? Kath thought he was stark staring mad. I thought he had a point. And so we kind of rolled it forward. Eventually we created a brand sort of based around our values. And we were absolutely clear there were going to be 3 parts to this business. There was going to be Asana Property Investments, which was going to make us money. There was Asana Wellbeing, which was going to make us money, and Asana Personal Development, which was going to make us money. And then we sat down and we worked out how they were going to make us money. And it's completely the wrong
I know where
orientation.
you're coming from now.
Just completely the wrong
I know where
orientation.
you're coming from. When some people were guiding us on that, we were kept being encouraged with everything we did, that everything's got to be monetized, it's got to be done that way and that way. And there's nothing wrong with money, but it's really not about the money. It's about the value.
It's not the
and
primary
that's the
driver.
truth. No,
Yeah.
it's kind of irrelevant in the truth, because money is just another form of energy. So it's value, it's an exchange of value. And obviously, we live in the world we live in, and we have to get by paying money. So money is part of the exchange of value. But it is what I love about Roger. One of the things I love about that is when he talks about the garden, and he says that instead of going out catching butterflies, trapping them in your net, you create a garden you grow this beautiful garden to give lots of value to people, and people want to come into your garden because they're attracted by the colours and the smells, and the longer they're in the garden, they can wander around and get real value from it. And that's what it's about. It's about value.
I think one of the key words you said in there is also attraction.
Yes,
And because I remember once being at an event, I think it was actually Roger's event, and he said, what is value? And we were coming up with all sorts of ideas, and ultimately it's attraction. Now, attraction is in the eye of the beholder, so to speak. But the more that, rather than trying to go out and make money, it's like I say, it's making the garden to attract in what it is you want to attract in. You want butterflies? Make a garden full of flowers. You want newts and something else? Make a garden full of ponds. And it will attract in what you require. And it's that environment. I think Blair Singer once said, and I said it on I did like a pre-set up live for this event. And he really taught me about context, like create the box within which you're going to put your stuff in. And if the stuff you put it in is at the same level as the box, again, values, little things you'll have all noticed on your chairs today. Well, you may not have noticed, but subconsciously, everything on everyone's chairs was perfectly neat next to each other one. And it's these tiny little things. Because when I first learned, I was like, who cares? And he's like, go around the room. And he said, make every single one of those flyers you put out straight. So I did it. And I stepped back and I was like, it looks a lot nicer. Such a tiny little thing. And it's those attention to details or holding your values to a regard, because you can have values and not live by them.
Yeah.
That makes such a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important though, whatever you're doing, to make sure it's something that fits for you, that makes you feel alive. And, when you found that, and that's something else I kind of learned. I used to have this thing about balancing your life and about work and leisure. And it's like getting that balance right was always a challenge for me. And then there was something I read in the book, and it's like, once you find what you absolutely love doing, really love doing, why would you want to do anything else until the day you're no longer here? And it's like, oh yeah, and it was like, yeah, of course, if once you find something you absolutely love, you do. So it's really important, because we only have one life, and we want to be alive, and we want to be living it, and be participating in it, not spectators of it. We want to be taking part in it, and that's the other bit of the mindfulness. With us, the values. It's like being mindful. Yes, because mindful also is being totally present. We're frequently not. We've got so many distractions in our life. We've got mobile phones, which are so great on the one hand and so terrible on the other. They really stop us from being present and living our lives and being engaged with it. And that is a big the other side of the mindfulness.
I want to say one thing on that, because you said we only have one life, and obviously we do. And
we're aware of.
That we're aware of. Well, we only have this
at this present time.
This particular life, we definitely have one of. And I once said that to someone. He went, it's a bit cliche, do you not think? And I was like, is it cliche or cheesy? Sorry. And I was like, well, yeah, but we do. And it's one of these things. I said, yeah, but you can't make that it doesn't really change things. I said, well, it does if you really think about it. Because when I'm gone, at least in this life, I'm gone. And we could argue all day what comes afterwards. But I'm pretty confident I'm here. I know from a quantum mechanical perspective, I'm not. But we'll just park that for now. This is all just a movie, and I'm sat in some spiritual space watching it. But I like to think I've got, if that is true, I've got a remote control and I can control the virtual me. Anyway, the point was that when they said that, I was like, yeah, but once you realize that you do have one life, and this goes back to your values and why you're doing what you're doing, do something you like. But it's scary.
It is scary.
And I'm interested here. You don't have to answer this, but I'm really curious. How many of you feel right now? Raise your hand if you're doing what you think you should be doing and you're happy doing it and you like it. Excellent. And is anyone brave enough to say honestly and truthfully that I absolutely am not doing what I should be doing and I do not like what I am doing? Thank you very much for raising your hand there. I'll keep your name off and you're not on the screen because in case someone's watching, you never know. So I'm really, really happy with that and that tells us we are attracting the right people as well, because it is so important to enjoy what you're doing. You could argue it's possibly one of the most important things. One of me and Christina's values is greatest good. And that means that everything we do must impact everything out there. Like if what we're doing only serves our little bit, which anyone could say, well, that's fine. For us, it's not. And it really has to be, does every little output we do have a positive impact out there?
Yeah. And as you grow in awareness, you mentioned this already, you grow in awareness and then you make changes in your life, because all of us are just living from what we've learned so far. And we're living the best life according to what we have learned and our experience has told us so far. And then when we get the new stuff, it's like, okay, what do I now need to do differently in order to be authentic and true to myself?
The only constant in the world is change.
Absolutely.
And I think when it comes, even your values must have the potential to change, because you only made those values based on who you were. And if your values are 10 years old and you haven't revisited them, how do you know the values still stand?
Absolutely. It's so important that. And I think as well, sometimes you set a direction and you go in there and you think, right, okay. And then, but like you say, you're changing every day. Change is the only constant. And then things unfold for you. And it's like, okay, actually, now it's not about chopping and changing. It's now this has unfolded and this opportunity has presented itself. And then, you know, we tend to know that. We tend to know that there's an opportunity presenting itself, and then the fear gets in the way. And we perhaps don't pursue it because, you know, we stick with the old familiar patterns. And coming together as a group, we all have this individually, but as a group, we can help each other, you know, to overcome these fears that we all have and make the right choices so that we can actually really live this life, you know, and a really connected life that feels really good.
I think there's I've met a lot of people, and I have myself been in this space where I create inertia and don't make a decision for fear of making the wrong decision. And someone once said, don't worry about trying to make the right decision, just make the decision you've made right. And I was like, wow. And he's like, which basically just means it doesn't matter. Make a decision, because I can tell you this, not making a decision is not a good decision. And when I went away, I left our family business about 21 years old. And I only went for like 3 months, and I was away for 3 years. And at one point I phoned my dad to ask him something. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Do I do a left or do I go right? And he said, the worst decision you'll ever make is the decision you never made. And I was like, oh, wow. And for me at that time, I knew exactly what that meant, which basically meant I've got an easy route and I've got a hard route, if we're just going to simplify it down. And I've lived by that and really thought about that so many times. And I still get inertia, but I'm aware I've got inertia, and then I can do something with it.
I can really relate to that. You know, making decisions I do not find easy, and it's so painful when you don't make them. It really is. Just make the decision, do it, go with it. Fortunately, you find it easy.
Yeah, I don't find it so easy to get a word in.
But, sorry. Sorry, Hal.
We like to eat our dinner at the dining table with our knees under, candles on, a glass of wine. We like it to be like that. And it creates a right kind of mood and a right situation for discussion. I say discussion. I sit back and drink wine, and Kath will just talk forever. She says, I always push you to the front. You always make you do the talking. Yeah, but do you know what? You've got so many kind of good things to say that I think that's
what we found actually that's really interesting through the wealth dynamics profiles and understanding more about our strengths is that I tend to have all these ideas from all over. I'm a deal maker, and so I'm kind of really good at seeing the connections and putting people together and ideas, but there's too many of them. And if I try and share that with with people, I easily lose them because I get caught up in all this stuff. What I do with Howard, because he's known me for so long, is I share all this stuff with him all over, gets all this dump, and he says, so what you mean is blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. So he makes it coherent, and he can then share it with people because
so many parallels here.
That's great.
If I can't draw it, I won't understand it. So it's got to be.
I need to draw a picture.
I need a picture.
So Christina's not a deal maker, but she has a lot of trader energy, and it is like that sometimes. And it's like, but this is what I love about relationship dynamics, and also like I think right now we're moving in. I'm taking us off topic now, but we're moving into that space where being together with someone else is, in the past, you'd be like, I have a job and you have a job, but that's not the way the world works. Like, and we're completely shifting and changing. And I think the future of heart-based, business-based, conscious leadership will have a lot of relationships behind it, whatever label you want to call that, because ultimately, that's when we're bringing that divine masculine, that divine feminine into the work that we're doing, we will yield a better result. Because for the last long period of time, let's just say we've had a heavy masculine influence. We'll leave it at that. We won't unpack that much further. It's moving in the right direction, and it's bringing with that this combination of masculine and feminine into conscious leadership.
It's interesting you say that. Part of my background, well, a lot of my background was in training and development. I spent 35 years plus doing that sort of work, amongst other things. And part of that was do my MBTI qualifications. Now, for those of you who know Myers-Briggs, that it has a lot of resonance with wealth dynamics, that's for sure. But a lot of companies out there are what we call ESTJ. and they're very masculine in that way, and they tend to recruit like people. So the management goes ESTJ, the people are recruited ESTJ. It's all about decisions, logic, and kind of getting the job done.
That's their values that they're using there.
And do you know what? I don't know that it always resonates truly with the heart of the business, though. And I think the move to an entrepreneurial 5.0, leadership 5.0 model is going to be so cool. And that the why is going to become the real core piece of this, the real core.
And that to go back to where we said earlier, that's attraction. Because the majority of this room is not 20 years old. And the more because we're wiser and we're older and we're thinking about that. But the ones that are coming through are asking completely different questions. We've got friends that are teachers, and some of their students, some of their kids, like primary school, will ask the teacher every day, okay, kids, we're going to learn this today. And the kids are like, how's this going to help me save the world, miss? Imagine answering that every day what a brilliant, like every single day I have to relate to you how this is going to make a difference. And if it's not, one of them said, some of the kids are like, well, not learning it then. And it's a valid question. It really is. And it's starting some of that dialogue. So you imagine them coming to work. Okay, you're going to do this and I'll pay you 30 grand, you can get a car and we've got a bouncy castle and a slide. Okay, cool. But if I work for you, how are you going to help? How is my energy put into your business going to make a difference out there? And that's my values now. Basically, we're getting married, but on like yearly contracts or whatever it might be. And if it doesn't work, then I'm out. And if it's not there at the beginning, I'm out. So that's wonderful.
But it's interesting how that why then creeps in, because like I said, we started by having these three clear business models. They're still there, but the kind of the shape of them and the drivers have slightly sort of changed now. So the very first thing that we did when we set up the networking meeting, and this was Kathy's idea. She'd done some yoga sessions with a charity in Wigan, and kind of raised consciousness of that. And she said, well, let's share part of our profits with charity. Now in my head, I'm thinking 10%. That's what I thought. We'll give 10% of the profits from that business charity. Kath says we're going to give 50.
The value.
50?
Yeah, half the profits from the meeting. But the reason is the community, when we brought our meeting together, it was about bringing a community together. We worked with, on the property side, we worked with the builder for some years before that. And he was great. It was called Paul. And initially when we came together, we wanted to create more Pauls because we know how, we could trust him 100%, and he was just great to work with. And yeah, so it was really about bringing a community together. When you bring the people together, magic can happen, quite honestly. And, so that's what was important. So it was right, the profits from it was an opportunity for the brick in Wigan to actually benefit from it too. So the meeting we run, it's at a venue which is an independent local business. The brick are independent as well. So again, it's aligning all those values and coming together to help each other to really create something good.
Good people should work with good people.
Yeah. And then the finding when we met in May, yourselves at the Roger Hamilton event, and seeing how Roger was on that, he's looking at all these aspects of our impact on the world around us. So it aligned for us, didn't it? It really did.
Yeah, we've been looking for a mentor about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And
that met
really,
the values.
Yeah.
Somebody who could take us and help us make the next steps.
And we knew we wanted to work with this community and create more value for the community, but it wasn't actually obvious to us exactly how to do that. Now the tools that Roger has, just like incredible tools. It's like, wow, this is the way that we can help them. This is with the platforms we can help them with.
Because I'm going to have to go to break in a minute, but we've had various things for coming here. We've had free events, we've had higher price ticket events. Now we settled at kind of like £8. And what we've done ever since the beginning for 3 years is, to begin with, it was 100%. 100% doesn't work. It doesn't support in any way. But now 50% of all the money that you paid to come here contributes to what, at least until this year, water, education, food or nutrition, and sanitation. Yeah, so over the space of 3 years, we chose not to do slides today. They can be distracting. We've done, on the last count, we've impacted 56,000 lives just from running these events, just from having people come. their little bits that they're chipping in, it all compounds up. So somewhere in the planet, or we know where, and we know what countries, and this is through systems and tools online and with people we know, where we know 100% of that money goes to that end cause. It's very important for us to start. We didn't want any paying admin fees or anything on top of that. And so we know that there's 56,000 human beings on this planet that, as a result of you guys sitting here, in some way have had a tiny little bit of a happier life. And that feeling and that connection goes a long way. Someone once said, well, where do I start? And I was like, well, what's the best way to eat a fully grown dinosaur? Start. Otherwise, you'll spend ages trying to make the right decision, and you just won't even make a decision. When I have to just end it there, and so much to talk about, I know. And the reason for that is because we're gonna have a little break. We really try and finish on the dot because we have overstepped people's times in the past, and I really try and respect and honor it. So it's 7:15. Now, on your chairs, if I could ask Tunde, is that right?
Yes.
Tunde. So you have on your chairs 3 pieces of paper. First of all, the small one here. This is an opportunity knocks. It's so easy to come to these events and not even really speak to anybody. So these little sheets are for you to put your details down. And it's basically really simple. What do I want and what can I give? I will keep it really easy today. So if you're looking, if you're looking for something in life, in business, whatever would make your life better, and life and business are so intertwined, then you want to put it here, the assistance that I seek. Underneath that, at the very bottom, it says, what can I offer in return? And this is, what have you got? It could be your skill, your trade. It could be an ear for someone that's just requiring someone to speak to. But you put it on at the bottom here. And there is a piece of string. Mads, if you could just point to the string. Everyone looks to the back of the room. Against the wall, there's a string with some not pins, pegs. With some pegs. Peg it up there. And then anyone can come, take photos. This is obviously the point where I say, if you do not want your details shared, don't put them up there. I'm now GDPR compliant. If it even exists after a couple of days' time, I don't know. And the second one on there is we're running a competition, which you're all welcome to enter. It's for a free place for our 9-week conscious leadership program called Human 5.0. Again, a couple of questions on the back just about how much you want it, just how much you're interested in making a difference in your life. If you fill those in and either hand them to Christina or Mads or leave them on your chair, that would be wonderful.
It's good with that to let us know what your why is. So yeah, definitely, we're really curious about what your why is when we're doing this.
So there's 2 things to fill out whilst we go on a break. On top of that, I should really try and rack this up in advance. So we see if we can. On top of that, tomorrow, I'm going to do it manually. Tomorrow is somebody's birthday. And it is a woman who is dear and special to my heart. It is my love of my life. It is Christina at the back. And you know what's going to be happening in a moment now, don't you? Because 2 things happen when it is someone's birthday. Who wants to shout out the first thing? And what's the second thing? Cake. I'm going to make a rule. Am I okay to make a rule? Say yes? Yes. If you don't sing, you don't get cake. So you can sing from the heart because you'd love to sing and represent and welcome people's birthdays, or you can sing from the heart because you just want to eat cake. I don't mind, because your voices will help those who are a little bit more shy. And so to Christina, I will begin. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Christina. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Microphone.
I was saying that this cake is amazing. It's actually good for you. Yeah, it's raw, and it was made by the beautiful Sima. She runs a company called Amazeballs. So thank you so much, Sima. Thank you.
It is a cake that has nuts in. If anyone's got nut allergies, don't go near the cake, obviously.
Yeah.
If you have chocolate desire and addiction, go like straight in. It is my favorite cake.
Yeah.
It's a healthy version of Snickers, not
Amazing.
endorsed
Thank you
by
so much.
Snickers. It's a healthy version of a nut-based chocolate biscuit. Chocolate. All right, so we'll be back in. We're going to have 10 minutes. It's 20 past 7. We really need to be starting at 7:30 if we want to cover the last half. So give yourselves a round of applause and enjoy yourselves. Okay, guys, if you can start taking your seats, please. We're going back live in a moment. Please come back to the room. One, two, three. Olivia, come on. Come on, guys. Okay, guys, we're going to start. Okay, and we are going back live now. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone that is online as well. I've posted a question on there, so if you want to start pondering that, you can do. I've turned your mic down, so just say hello for me. Hello. Again. Keep going.
Hello, hello. Toast, toast. 2 pieces of toast.
2 pieces of toast.
I'll explain what the 2 pieces of toast is about. It's
Vicar of Dibley.
Again. Hello, hello.
2 pieces of toast.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so that now everyone knows what the order is. If someone can go and make the toast, that would be wonderful. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up a little bit more to you guys that are here. Like, there is no point us being 3 speaking heads. As nice as it is to hear timeless wisdom and not timeless wisdom sometimes. Oh, I thought it was my laptop. I was like, how's that happening? Oh, sorry. Well, I'll tell you the question you hear. You get it live if you want. The question is.
It's not working. Hello.
Again.
Testing.
Brilliant.
Okay.
All right.
Toast.
The question is, do you like toast? No. The question is, what is your why? Ooh, I saw some faces crank then. Ooh. What is your why? And you can answer your why for business, for life, if they're different. It's a discussion point in itself anyway. Whatever it means for you. What are your values? Do you have values? That's what we're interested in looking at first. So I'm going to give you 20 seconds to ponder that, and then I'm going to either pick on someone, or if you have a heart, you'll raise your hand so that no one has to get picked on. And I think that's fair. Do you reckon? Yeah? Seems pretty reasonable. Why do you do what you do? What are your values? Because I know a couple of you have definitely got values. Oh, look at that. Can we get a microphone to Joe, please? And sorry, Christine's just getting dressed. Need a cosmic robe to do a cosmic mics check. Tell everyone your name, please.
You're right. My name's Joe Stevenson.
Everyone say hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Howdy, all. Right, my values. I've always just been a caring person. My values, I want to help raise issues regarding disability rights. That's always just, that's clearly my value in life. Now, it's clearly exactly the thing that I want to do. Sorry, I don't know how far I can go with this.
It's okay. You've said enough if you want to just leave it there, because that is, if it's difficult to say any more, that's cool. These are heartfelt topics sometimes.
I mean, is there anything you'd like me to add?
No, that's cool. So you want to help people have more rights within specifically the disability sphere. Is that right?
Yeah, it definitely feels like the thing I was born to do, basically. It's, my life has kind of evolved over the years. I was depressed for about 7.5 years, but I overcame that depression after university when I studied something I really shouldn't have bothered with, really. But it's, yeah, now I've moved past that and I've become a more spiritual person, and I know that I am. This is just, you know, I was depressed because I had a disability. That's why it happened. But now that, you know, I've overcome it, I want to help people deal with it now.
And that in itself is absolutely beautiful. Please, can everyone give a heartfelt round of applause to Joe?
No problem. Shaking like mad.
Not just for doing what you're doing, but also for going first, for speaking. Like it takes a lot of gumption to just even speak out sometimes about what you're doing. Gumption,
Courage.
courage. To just speak out. So I really appreciate that. And I know it was your first time last month coming along as well. So I really honor that as well. So thank you very much for that, Joe. Anyone else want to share why you even get up in a day? Which is another way of looking at your values, I think. Someone at the front here. Can we get a mic to the front? Miss Lady Laura Hartley.
Hi there. So I started a recruitment agency back in April 2009 because I wanted to make a difference and change the perception of recruitment agencies, because we're seen as bad as car salesmen, really. So I want to change that perception. What I hadn't realised at the time was my values that was driving that. And 2 years ago, I started another company, which is people retention, because what I was seeing a lot of was employers taking new people's business, not telling them what the job really is, and overselling something or underselling it. And there was a pattern of candidates coming through 3-6 months on this thinking they'd made a mistake. So my journey over the last 11 years has been consulting rather than just recruitment, and showing employers the better way to recruit so that they keep the candidates longer, on board them better. And I've just joined Roger's team as product partner for Talent Dynamics for Recruitment, and we'll be running workshops to show people how to get the best out of the people, and that's the strapline for people retention. That's our journey. So it is business focused. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Give her a round of applause. I was trying to get you live on there, Laura.
I love that, Laura, especially because my background was in recruitment, right? So I worked in recruitment for 10 years before I left it, about 6-7 years ago. And I think it's so important because you do, retention is the key, really. You want people to come in, but then stay in the business. And that's a big piece that is missing within the recruitment industry, is that personal responsibility, that actually, as recruiters, there's a level of responsibility to make sure that it's a people focus rather than being on profit. And yeah, absolutely.
And this is that shift over now to looking after what we've got. And it extends to not just employees, but to supply chains, the earth, the people we look after, our communities. Look after what you've got, and you won't actually need that much. Mend, not spend, that sort of thing. Mend and look after the people that are in your organization you've worked so hard to get and train, instead of constantly trying to breed new stuff in. I love what you've been doing, Laura. I've been following and supporting you throughout the last few years on this process, and it is beautiful to see you blossom into this. And I think it's what the world needs more of now. Brilliant. Give her a round of applause, everyone. Thank you. Any other whys that you'd like to share? This is your moment to say it to yourself, to say it to the world, to just really own why you get up, why you do what you do. Soul sister over there. Natasha and Anand.
So this is really live for me right now. My husband and I set up a social enterprise 12 years ago called Union Street Media Arts. And 6 years ago, we developed a clinic called Earth Clinic. So our work moved into working in the community, doing youth and community projects, and also media projects, to moving into wellness and spirituality. So we're in the process now, after pretty much 11 years, coming into a new cycle of readjusting our strategy. So I'm going to read what I've got because we've been doing it. So we do what we do because we care about the journey that souls are on, that people are on, and that we appreciate that this journey has its ups and downs and flows and ebbs in different ways, different speeds, different tempos. Sometimes it's sticky and rocky, sometimes it's smooth. And we want to help people overcome their blocks and challenges with as much grace and ease as they can, because we think that healing can be fun. And it can be a play. And it's very much what we're here to do. So, and we care about the journey that the planet is on, and a lot of what we do is moving towards helping people to align more with the earth. So my personal values are evolution, awareness, love, healing, leadership.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Give her a round of applause. That is lovely. Thank you very much, Natasha. Anyone else ever struggled with views? Now's your time, like this whole event. Oh, brilliant. Okay. Do you want to share, Andrea, how you struggled? Yeah. Because this whole, like, we're here to talk about values, but honestly, there is no greater lesson in learning than sharing what we have and what we found out. We're just 3 people, but in here there's like 30 of us. Share away.
Yeah, so I had a couple of efforts at putting some values together for the business, and I feel like I possibly got it wrong, and I wouldn't want anybody else to do the same thing. So I sort of brought the management team together, and we sat around and we said, what are our values? And we did it a couple of different ways, sometimes through looking at cards or different values and prioritizing them and things like that. And both times we did it, the values didn't really stick. And I have to say that, 6 months on, if it wasn't for, well, even if they were on the wall, no one was really living the values.
Can I just pause that? If you've run a business or you've been in a business and the business has made values and they have not stuck, yeah, definitely. Like making some things and putting them all, I totally resonate with that.
So I think, tell me I'm right, because I've not done it yet, but I sat down the other day and had a look at this and I thought, the reason is they're not my values. They are an attempt to keep 5 people happy and create some common values, but really, I'm boss, it's my business. I suspect have to be my values, and then if you like those values, you're with me, and if you don't, move on, work somewhere else.
Very interesting. We've got some nodding heads in here.
I just wondered if I could share on that. I worked for a large insurance company. I say large, they had 3,000 or 4,000 people in the company. And they gave the job of creating the values, the company's shared values, to the employees. And the employees came up with a sort of 4 shared values, which presumably the people who came up with values all bought into. I'm not sure about the other 3,996, however, and that's always going to be the challenge. I think as leader, the best you can do is to articulate a clear shared vision that's aligned to your values, and attract the people who kind of share or want to go in that same direction with you, who want to make that journey with you. Their values are always going to be slightly different, but that clear vision can bring differing and different sort of people together. And we're lucky that there's only the 2 of us, but as our team grows, I think the vision is going to become almost more important than our core personal values. Yeah, we want them to buy into that, but essentially they underpin us. It's the vision.
But how much does your vision, how much do your values, what drives what? Does values drive vision? Is vision driving values?
It's an interesting question. Obviously, we're wearing the red lanyards, and one of the very first things that you are asked to do when you join the Crystal Circle is to really consider your vision, your future vision. not too distant, not too remote. It's kind of quite timely, and inevitably, the vision is like to be shaped by your underlying values. If it's not, you'll feel the disjoint. You'll know that it's not quite right. So if I wrote a vision that said, my vision is an income of £100,000 and and there's, it just wouldn't feel right, because my vision is much more of a sense of how it will feel when I arrive, than the numbers. And if you're driven by the numbers, I doubt you'll ever really own them. So I think you'll know when they jar.
Yeah, and I want to definitely say to Andrew here, and for anyone else who's listening, whether you should make them or whether everyone else should make them, should it be a share or should it come from you, is not much the question, but the question is, whatever is made, you absolutely, it has to fire you and light you. And if that means that if they're all saying we like blue and left, and you absolutely don't like blue and left, then either you're not in the right space, or they need to you have to hold what you want to do, and that might mean they need to change, but something's got to change. And when I sold our company, which was a family business, by the way, 38 years old, so to make a decision to sell a 38-year-old family business was an overnight decision, but only because I was so sure on what I was doing. It was the best decision ever. But it came down to we tried, did values and everything, and I realized that the industry I was in, the people we were working with, the customers, the area, everything, I can't change the values of a whole industry, and those values of that industry heavily influence everything else. And so I realized that I'm in the wrong place. Now I know what you do, and I'd actually love, if you're okay for 30 seconds, to just share with people what you do, because I think it is beautiful.
Well, thank you. Okay, so the vision of my business is to help 10,000, well, we're going to hit this year, was to help 10,000 women feel fantastic in the skin they're in. We're a portrait photography business that sort of works through burlesque and boudoir to help women feel fantastic about who they are, all shapes, all sizes, all ages. So I think the vision's quite clear, but I think my slight issue is that everybody that works in my business can go, yes, that's the vision, but if they're not living some values behind that, then I think it makes it harder for me as the leader to say, well, did that really fit? Yeah, it fits with a vision, but does it fit? Does your behavior link with my values?
Yeah, because I suppose vision is where we're going. Values is not rules, but it's the glue of how we get there. Because there's a million ways to achieve what you're trying to do. But if one of the values, I don't know, could be full authenticity, as an example, or honesty. Well, then all of a sudden, when that client's got an issue, how did you respond to that issue? It's got nothing to do with vision. Yeah. The values that will hold you to that. Yeah. That was the big shift that me and Christina found in the last handful of years, that once we got really clear on our values, making decisions actually became far easier, because we're like, well, we want to do that. Okay, then what are the values? Yep. And then you start seeing if you're fitting the round peg in the square hole to make that decision.
I think it's also really valuable to look at what do you really go, I really hate that, because that can give you a steer as to, if you really hate that, what is it why do you hate it? So what's important to you on the other side of that? And that feeling, you mentioned before about the feelings, come back to the feelings and how it resonates in you. I think that's a real good, like a gut thing that it's like, for me, at one point I was really trying to choose, make my decisions from my head, but actually I make better decisions truthfully if I make them truly from my gut, what feels actually right. But yeah, the head is also involved, but that gut thing, in terms of what feels right.
I was just...
When you're looking at your values for your business and behaviours, if you put those into the onboarding process, the recruitment process, the onboarding process, and then the appraisals and performance reviews, that's really easy to identify who's on the right bus and who isn't. And it's easy to get them to realise they're in the wrong job or wrong company.
Yeah.
But you have to have them written down. You have to share what your expectations are.
And be willing to do something to uphold them that would look crazy. It's that's because holding to values when you're on a wave riding is easy. There's no challenge. And someone said, like, you only know what you're actually made of and what you can do. When that wave crashes and you're off that surfboard and you're underneath or whatever falling off you want to have it as an analogy in your mind, then what do you do? Do you squeeze that extra 10% profit because you really need the cash flow this month, but it will mean going against that value? And the one of your staff will see that and they'll be like, I thought we didn't do that. And all of a sudden, now it's like, oh, right, oh, that's what we do with values, do we? And that's the real test. Are you willing to stand by your values? What's your word? We have a friend of ours who's meticulous with her word. That's my word. And I will stand by that word. And if you don't like it, there's 1,000 other friends you can be friends with. But it actually allows you to understand boundaries and why I choose to be with that friend. And if it's uncomfortable, and holding values can be uncomfortable in a business, through the other of that, absolute strength, sovereign strength, self-energy strength. Whereas people turn around and go, I will follow you because of how you dealt with that. And that is, you can't buy that level of connection, of belief, of trust. And that's why I think values are so important. Making them, holding to them, having the vision aligned by them, and then living by them. And it is hard. Sometimes the best decisions can be hard.
Could I, would this be really bad to ask somebody who sat out here to contribute? Like, no. So Sharon and Steve, I would really like you guys to maybe, if you're comfortable, to share a bit, because we choose to work with Sharon and Steve for a lot of reasons.
Steve's like Sharon.
And because there's certainly we're seeing there's the values that underpin what they do. They certainly those very loud. So I just, if you don't mind, to put you on the
Before Sharon
spot.
speaks, you've got your 30
don't have
seconds
to.
to think.
Okay, I was just going to say, if that's okay, I don't want
No,
to...
it definitely is. But
Oh,
I've just got 30 more seconds to speak because it's 19:55. So I'm going to let you know now. I hate being over because of what I've done in the past. So as long as you
Saved
guys
by
are
the bell.
okay with that. No. If you're okay, still speak. I just want everyone to know that I am aware that we will go over, but I'm only aware right now, which is a little bit later. So I'm cool with it. If anyone else is cool with it, if you need to leave, you're welcome to leave on the dot, but I would love you to share.
Due to finish at 8.
Oh yeah, we finish today, but like I'll go over a few minutes. But it's one of these things. I just want everyone to know that I'm consciously aware of that. I don't want that people to think that I'm disrespecting themselves.
Okay, I'll keep this short then. Is this on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I'll make you louder if you want.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Kathy. That whole last discussion piece really resonated very well with me. So I worked in corporate for 20 years and I've gone through the whole employee sharing values thing, up on the wall, all that sort of thing. So that definitely does resonate. Since then, I resigned from my career. So Steve, who's my husband and business partner, we set up our business a good few years ago now. And one of the very first things we did was sit down and work out what our business values were. So our business values are integrity, courtesy, and fairness. And we apply that to everything that we do. So we are property managers. So Howard and Kathy are our clients as well. And we also apply that not only to our clients, but to our tenants as well. So that's how we behave with the tenants in the property as well, applies to all of our suppliers and each other in the business as well. And we also found that then also applied to staff as well. So we've taken on board staff over time, and we've actually got a lady with us who, she's been with us 6 months and has just resigned. And I think because, as this lady here was saying, she's realised that her values don't align with ours. And she's made that conscious choice to say, actually, this isn't the job for me. So I think you do really need to stick to it. And I think if you have values that are your values that follow through in everything that you do, then you attract like-minded people and people will come on that journey with you. And that's certainly been our experience.
And have you found as well, though, that like, especially in your industry, you use the word courtesy and tenancy in the same sentence, which took me a while to just put that into my mind with my experience over time. But do you find that actually you're a bit of a beacon as well?
Yes, we're certainly very different. And again, one of the first things in our vision statement that we put together when we first started was changing the face of the lettings industry. And that was one of the things. So again, that resonates with the lady who was talking about recruitment. 7 years in, I'm beginning to wonder if I'm in the same boat as you, and actually I can't change the whole industry. Is a bit of a challenge, but we are carving out our own path currently. And that's the way that we're going, and we definitely does set us apart. So we get an awful lot of referrals of clients and tenants because they know that they're our values and that we stick to them.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And they're all kind of nice people.
That's brilliant. You don't actually need a microphone, do you? No. I love it. And one thing I wanted to share as well, this is an insight from to when I said I couldn't change an industry. Just to put some context to that. Who I was didn't have the power, strength, capability to hold the space, to create an environment, to attract the people to do that. I was a lot, even though it wasn't that long ago, leaving, because when you join a family business, you're however old you are, and there's so much. It's like when friends you haven't seen in 5 years and you go and see them, they hold you in the same light as the 5 years ago you that they remember.
Definitely.
And to break out of that's really difficult sometimes, and you can definitely do it. And now if I was to go back into that, I would carve my own space, because every industry that is not, let's just say, holding courtesy values, then it's absolutely primed to be completely transformed. And you can do it, but it takes, like anything, it takes work. Are you willing to go through the pain? And there's someone in this room that I know really addressed that with inside themselves recently. And at any point you can choose to quit and just go back to whatever it was. But if you burst through and you keep going, at the other side is absolute liberation and light. But it is a warrior's path. It does take time, it does take energy, but you end up carving a space and people come. And that's attraction. That's the garden full of
absolutely
flowers.
Absolutely. And that's the path that we're on at the moment, and that's what we're currently working on. And it is a lot of work, but that's the direction we've decided to take.
And you attract beautiful clients. Give a round of applause. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to wrap up. What Christina's going to say something.
Yeah, I just have a question because over time, just curious, with Andrew was saying about shifting from being company values into his values. And I'm just curious on your thoughts on whether or not, as we're going into more authenticity generally as humans, do you think that there is a shift of going from being in company values more into your values being the full values of the business, whereas once they could have been separate and that would have been okay, now there's a real uncomfortability with that?
It is a good question. And I think the mindset is shifting. God, that came out so wrong, didn't it?
I edited it.
I'm of age, you see, when I was kind of probably started my first job when some of you were just starting your first school, and you went into a job and you just were part of the machinery. And so you just applied yourself as part of the machinery. And I spent 44 years working for other people from 16 to 60. Somewhere in the middle of that, I remember reading a book called The Age of Unreason by Charles Handed. He started to talk about portfolio working. I think we see now the kind of newer generation, the younger generation coming through with this more portfolio approach to work. They will work with multiple companies, sometimes at the same time, sometimes sort of successively. And each of those companies, I think, is much more important to them that the company sort of reflects their personal values rather than they kind of mold themselves into a 40-year career where they kind of get the stamp on the back of the neck and the microchip and sort of fulfill someone else's vision. It's very different. I signed indentures at 16. Essentially, they became my legal guardians, the first company I worked for 5 years. Yeah. That is quite a change.
Wow. I don't even know what indentures are. I thought it was something to do with teeth.
I joined the Merchant Navy at 16. I ran away to sea, essentially, and you were indentured. So as a cadet, they became your legal guardian for 5 years.
Wow. I did not know that. At least you've not got those guardians anymore. So to answer your question, I mean, I would completely agree. I think the companies that royally, I'm speaking for everyone here, that generally people respect are the companies where you know who owns it. Think about the or runs it in some, I know it could be share owners, but like the leader has a public presence in one format or another. And you may not love everything about them, but you know who they are. And I always use the example, and it's easy to use, like I know who owns Tesla. I have no idea who owns Ferrari. No idea who owns Porsche. I'm sure a Porsche enthusiast will. But it's one of these things of I think as a business owner, you have a moral obligation to look after the people that are coming to work for you, because they're coming along and they're in this environment. Like, you created the environment. You can't go, well, it's not my problem what they're doing at home. Of course it's your problem. You're creating off the crap they have to take home. It's absolutely your problem. And then you're like, well, it's not my problem what's going on out there. Of course it is. You're buying stuff out there. You're selling stuff out there. You have an obligation to be part of the solution just as much as they're part of the problem. And so as soon as that happens, then as a business leader, I have to accept the notion that, okay, so if I'm effectively potentially if I'm buying any raw material, I am part of a problem that is occurring right now. So then how do I start to balance that off? Nature loves balance. Balance is everywhere. We think it doesn't exist. It's constantly existing. But it doesn't look like this. It looks like this. And when you take the mean average between the two, you get balance. That's why we go out really party and then we'll go and do some spa days. You do that enough times, you find some balance. Because if you just live balance, it's a bit boring. Nature has forests and lush fields, and it has swamps where things putrefy and go back down again. And so the cycle is complete. And so as a business owner now, the ones that are front and center can answer that question, because I would imagine if they're front and center, what they're building, they're like, I'm building that, I'm part of it. And I'm willing to be in the public face and be scrutinized, the positive and the negative. I'm willing to go, this is what I've got. And if I'm not, then I can sit back here and I don't even have to listen to anybody, because you don't even know who I am unless you seek me out. And that's where that's a bigger version. But to go back to Andrew's story, that's where a leader is like, no, I'm doing this. And it's going to upset some people who maybe don't understand, or they're going to teach me something that I didn't know. And then I look at my values and say, oh, that needs to change, and then be humble about it.
It is interesting to see this change happening. I don't know if you guys ever watch the TV or watch adverts. The only time I see adverts is in the gym, and they're on the screen. And Patronus adverts. Have you noticed how Patronus, a company you only know for Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur, suddenly has the chief exec talking about what they're doing with the company to transform, or they've got the head of their kind of research division. So all of a sudden they're doing this. They're putting the people rather than the brand out there.
Someone once said,
change.
If you don't make up the rules, someone else will. So if you don't, Sammy Blinder, who's spoken a few times here, said brand is what other people say about you. You don't own brand. You can influence it, but it's this idea that if you don't go out there and say, hey, we're a good company, I'm just using that, then everyone has the right to go, yeah, they're a crap company, because you're not saying anything. So I think this whole shift now, we're moving into the fact that companies are not soulless, heartless, personalityless entities, and people are completely separate. They are completely merging, and they'll be inseparable. People that attract people that don't will not be here in 10 years. And that is this big shift. You think about how much it's changed when 40 years ago, when you said you joined, everything compared to now. In 10 years, it's only going to compound further. So I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm dying to continue the conversation. I've got burningness inside of me, but we're all 6 minutes over and we have to finish. So we'll do a round of applause at the end. So we'll keep this really, really simple. As far as our socials go this year, what we've planned, the elements as we go through, all of that is going to carry on when these guys beautifully take the baton after today. I really love and I really honor and applaud that. Like, it's really nice to hand over to you two. I want to also give a really huge thank you. The people that have never been here before, we're probably the only ones that can put their hand up, unless you're returning, it's been a while, but who's never been in this building, in this floor before? Can I just have a show of hands? Wow. So this place is called Workplace, right? And the people that started Workplace are those two beautiful beings at the bottom, washing up our plates, putting our things away and cleaning them, like mother and father to an adopted set of Russia's kids. Russia's, you know what I mean? And there's actually a third person, but I think I've only met her once. She deals with other areas of the business. And they call this place, it's a co-working space. They call it co-working for grown-ups, which I love. And they came from hospitality, and you can really feel that, I'm going to say, like opulence and it's like all the best bits of a hotel and all the best bits of co-working spaces brought together in one space. And they have looked after us as we, like traveling kids through Manchester, found this place, and it has been beautiful. It is £90, 90 great British English pounds a month to be in this co-working space for 5 days, which I think is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And all the people here are wonderful and lovely. And so I really just want to honor that. It's going to still, well, we may still be here at the next event. You'll know when it's all posted, but whether it is or it isn't, this place is one of the nicest co-working spaces in Manchester. Me and Christina have seen a lot of them. We really, really have. So if you ever need a space to come and work, come on down here and speak to these two guys because they'll really look after you. From myself and from Christina, we really want to give to, if anyone from EI is watching this or isn't, and if not at a quantum level, a really big thank you to Roger and to EI, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. I didn't grow up doing events. 3 years down the line now, got all these buttons and stuff, and there's a live stream over there, and it's been a really beautiful journey. And it's only this week that I've realized how much we've grown and met some awesome people. This woman recently won an award for most inspirational female at most international. Tell us. She looked after her mother for 15 years. She's just a big ball of energy and love, and I really, really honor Madea for how far you've come, because I know what you have carried, and God only bestows great responsibilities on the shoulders that can bear it, and you got steel shoulders, all right? So I really, really, really.
And she's absolutely lovely.
She is
well.
lovely, isn't she?
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
So it's a really big thank you to Roger, EI, to Workplace for being here, to all the people that supported us, to Kathy and Howard for taking over as well. Like, really applaud that. And also for you guys, half this room keep coming back. And that tells us something. Because when we first started, not a single soul would come back. Every single month, 20 different people. And then something happened. It was when we made a conscious decision to really say, what are we doing? What are we building? And we said, we have the opportunity to bring people together and talk about one common theme. How do we build things there? Whatever it might be, lives, souls, spirits, businesses, whatever. How do we build it and make a difference? And as soon as we said that to each other on a vision board, people started coming back. We're like, he's been back before. I recognize his face. And now half the room is in. So that tells us something. It tells us something about you guys. The fact that half of you put your hand up, all of you nearly, when you said you do something you love. Let's get more of that. Seriously, let's get more of that. So keep coming back. Support Kathy and Howard. We will be doing. We're now all going to go to Pizza Express. Probably that one. They're going to get angry if too many of us come, even if it's empty. I know. We just want to sit down. They were like, we can't house you. We're like, there's no one in. Yeah, how many other 15? No. I don't get it. So the big one will definitely take us. It's a 2-minute walk in that direction. It's just past the Midland.
Past the hotel, yeah.
Just past the Midland. We'll go in together. All I ask, please, is as soon as this microphone goes off in 1 minute, that sliding door is going to be starting to be closed. It's like generation game, yeah? Haven't the door to get this, we can, so those guys can go home. So for all of that, and for Christina's birthday and what she's probably about to say, go on.
I wanted to say thanks to Olivia, wherever she's gone. I don't know where she's gone, but Olivia, she comes and helps all the time. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to Daniel for holding space and to being upfront and center month after month after month. Thank you so much. And also to Howard and Kathy. Honestly, I was really pleased we were going to be handing over to you guys, but after tonight, it just feels so good that we're going to be passing the baton to you guys. But so much mirror of our relationship and how we think, and I couldn't really think of anybody better that we could hand over to. And I look forward to coming to your events and seeing what you do with it. And yeah, just thank you.
It was
so
an
much.
unfolding. It just kind of, it was the opportunity to present it, and it was
everything
the right time
ever
and the
is.
right
Absolutely,
people.
absolutely. Yeah, it's just
So we're gonna
perfect how it's all worked out. So thank you so much. And
Cool.
yeah, thank you.
And your things that are on your chairs, like I said, there's an opportunity to win a 9-week program for Chief. For your spirit, if you want to be one of these people that can really start to step out into the world and not be reactive as much, you're having to fill out the form. You don't win it if you don't enter it. And so with that, I say, I'm really emotional, I'm feeling inside. I say a farewell for myself and Christina. I really do.
And I think, I think we should be just saying to these guys, who are two amazing people, not known them very long, but clearly absolutely wonderful, been doing a fantastic job here. And I'm sure everybody in this room Really, really big round of applause, please, guys.
For everyone. And keep your round of applause going for Workplace, for you guys, and for these. One more time, please. Everyone that's online, I hope you've had a really good time. My name has been Daniel Helenko. We are Kotori. This is the last and first purposeful entrepreneur social for people who really give a shit. And if you don't, that's okay too, because we love you and we're always waiting. So everyone, thank you very much wherever you are. Have a great night. Goodbye. Filled in one of the forms.